Hello everyone, this is Joe, 4Soft Corners here, and for today's video I have a 2-card mail day of a submission of cards I sent off myself to SGC. One of the cards I showed off before after I picked it up from my LCS before it was graded, and I just wanted to, I probably won't be, I don't think, picking up a lot of cards from this set, so just because it was a Hall of Famer and everything, I just wanted it slabbed, and because of the condition it was in, I thought it would preserve it a little and just look good in a slab. And then one other one is my first T206 card I ever picked up, and that I got from eBay. I haven't shown that off yet. Well, I'll get into more of that when I show it. But first, the first card is the 1941 PlayBall Jimmie Foxx. And, I mean, I pretty much figured this was just going to get a 1, so this got an SGC 1. I was really happy to pick this card up when I got it from the LCS, and I just thought it would, I mean, most stuff I don't prefer graded just because I like to, if I'm doing sets, put stuff in the binder, but just having figured not too many cards from this set, probably not, you know, definitely not ever completing the set. I figured just for display purposes it would look better in a slab. Alright, so next, like I said, this is my first card from the T206 set. So I bought this card ungraded from eBay, from a seller that pretty much just had all T206s posted, and had wasn't a ton of feedback. I think only like 100 and some feedback, all positive. But so I'd reached out to a friend that sets up at some of the local shows, and I know he's very well educated in the set. So I sent him a picture, and he said, as best he could tell just from pictures, he thought it was real. He said just you can only tell so much, and so much of it's on the feel. So when I got it in, I just wasn't sure. These cards are much thinner than I ever thought they'd be, and the feel is definitely different than traditional cardboard. So I still wasn't sure, so again, just for display purposes, and definitely if I wanted to buy any cards from that seller in the future, I wanted to make sure it was real first, so I sent this in as well. Slightly disappointed, I didn't realize, so it is authentic, but I was hoping for a grade. I thought it would probably just get a 1, but I mean, as it's in the slab here, I can tell, I mean, I'm assuming they're sized specifically for the normal size of T206s, and you can see there's a gap at the top, so well, it's authentic evidence of trimming, so I'm assuming it was trimmed at some point. But so I was looking for a while for my first T206, and I didn't want to get just a completely random player, but then obviously probably couldn't afford many of the Hall of Famers. So I went with somebody who has a story with him at least, and I think one of the people who's gotten one of the raw steals in history of baseball. So this is Fred Merkle. So this is a Sweet Capital 350 back. You can see there's some writing in the middle. Right at the top edge, you can see it touches the black frame all around, but then right at the top edge there's definitely a gap. Let's see, maybe with this. can't quite tell, but so yeah, after looking at it, I mean, I didn't have anything to compare it to size-wise, so after looking, I mean, I definitely can't argue that it does look shorter than it should be. So like I said, definitely happy it's real, slightly disappointed it didn't get a grade, but at least I know it was real. So I'll do my best to tell this story fairly quickly. I wanted to try and edit it with this video in, but I couldn't. I didn't feel like messing with it for a long time, and I couldn't quite figure out how to do it. So for anybody who doesn't know, so Fred Merkle in the the Giants and the Cubs were in a pennant race in 1908. It was getting down. It was September 23rd. It was getting down towards the end of the season, and they're playing one of their pivotal games. So the day of the game, the Giants' first baseman, Fred Tenney, was unavailable to play, so Fred Merkle made his first career start. In the bottom of the ninth, with the game tied 1-1, I believe. I should have double checked that. Merkle reached first base, and on a hit to center field, there was a runner on third, and that runner ended up scoring. So everybody thought the Giants won the game. However, before Merkle could get to second base, he wasn't able to touch second base. All the Giants fans, so the game was at the Polo Grounds in New York. All the Giants fans rushed the field, and there's many conflicting stories. The video I'm going to try and post is from Ken Burns Baseball, and is where I first heard of this. And then also looking up in some other research, like I said, there's many conflicting reports. So it said that the Cubs second baseman Johnny Evers was the one that supposedly noticed that Merkle didn't touch second and tried to get the ball. In his rush to do that, I'm pretty sure this is substantiated that it was a Giants pitcher, and I believe he was coaching first base that day, Joe McGinnity, grabbed the ball and threw it into the stands. There's also some reports that Cubs players were holding Merkle back from reaching second base. So in the end, a ball supposedly was retrieved, and Johnny Evers touched second base, and Fred Merkle was ruled out on the force out, and the run never scored. So what ended up happening is they were unable to resume play at all because of darkness. And then afterwards, protests back and forth and stuff. I believe the Giants had 10 games remaining, and I think the Cubs had 8, and the way it ended up, they still, after their games, ended up in a tie. So then they had to it had started out, the game itself, they were just calling it a tie, because saying Fred Merkle's was out, and the run never counted. But the way I guess they were just hoping that it didn't matter at all. But it ended up that they both finished with a tie of records. So then they had to play a deciding game on, I believe it was October 8th. And the Cubs ended up winning that game 4-2. And went on to win the World Series that year. And that was the last World Series they won until 2016. So for Fred Merkle, pretty much his whole career, I mean, definitely afterwards, he was called Bonehead, and the play itself is called Merkle's Boner. But pretty much lived with him his whole career. He still ended up playing, I believe, 16 seasons. He played until 1925. I think towards the end of his career, there was 2 years he didn't play. But yeah, so ended up playing a long career. I think he ended up with like 19.9 career WAR. So ended up with a long career. Just always had that over his head and was always blamed for it. And in my opinion, I think it's one of the dumbest plays ever. Like the fact that I mean, obviously I know the rule is he has to touch second base, but all the factors leading into it with the fans rushing the field, it possibly not being, most likely not being the actual ball. And I mean, once any fan touched the ball, it should be you know, fan interference, and it shouldn't matter. But then I guess there's the opposing point that since the Giants first base coach threw the ball into the stands, that should have deemed it an automatic out. So yeah, definitely something that there's a lot of controversy over. Kind of maybe somewhat ended in a I know I read years later in a Giants like old timer game, I believe in 1950, Fred Merkle participated and got a standing ovation from the crowd. So I mean, I guess at some point maybe at least got his from the fans. Forgiving him, I guess you could say. But so basically most of what I said will be in the video. I try and link. It's 3 or 4 minutes, but sorry for anyone having to listen to me ramble on about that. I was trying to just do it all off the top of my head, and some of the stats and some of the facts were couldn't come up with right away. But I just want to show these two off once again. Like I said, for the Merkle card, I'm just really happy to have a T206 card in my collection. I love the portrait cards, so that was definitely, and I like the background colors. The greens are very nice. I like the red. I mean, it just stands out. So like I said, very happy to pick one of these up, even though it just came back authentic, but still happy that it's real and to have it in my collection. And like I said, definitely a story to go with the card, story about the player. So yeah, so that's it for this one. Don't do much grading at all. Just I said this was just 100% just for, I just think they look better in the slabs, and it'll be better to display. So but for anyone who held on and watched all this, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and just remember, any card can be a great looking card, even if it has 4 soft corners. Thank you.